Hi friends, I welcome you all here at TNV Academy. Now, let me start explaining the clause 6, Planning of Standard. Coming to the subclause 6.1, Actions to address risks and opportunities. The subclause 6.1.1 of ISO 22000 says that when planning for the FSMS, the organization is required to consider the issues referred to in subclause 4.1 and the requirements referred to in subclause 4.2 and 4.3. Organization must determine the risks and opportunities that need to be addressed to give assurance that the FSMS can achieve its intended results. As per this subclause, an organization must determine the risks and opportunities that need to be addressed to enhance desirable effects and to prevent or reduce undesired effects. Further, subclause 6.1.1 says that to achieve continual improvement, organization must determine the risks and opportunities to meet the requirements of the standard. The clause 6.1.1 guides under a note that in the context of this document, the concept of risks and opportunities is limited to events and their consequences relating to the performance and effectiveness of the FSMS. Public authorities are responsible for addressing public health risks. Organizations are required to manage food safety hazards and the requirements related to this process that is laid down in Clause 8. Let's talk now about Subclause 6.1.2. As per this clause, the organization is required to plan actions to address these risks and opportunities and also how to integrate and implement the actions into its FSMS processes. The subclause 6.1.2 specifies that the organization is required to plan actions, how to evaluate the effectiveness of these actions. Now, coming to the subclause 6.1.3, this says that the actions taken by the organization to address risks and opportunities must be proportionate to the impact on food safety requirements, the conformity of food products and services to customers, and the requirements of interested parties in the food chain. This subclause guides under Note 1 that actions to address risks and opportunities can include avoiding risk, taking risk in order to pursue an opportunity, eliminating the risk source, changing the likelihood or consequences, sharing the risk, or accepting the presence of risk by informed decision. Under Note 2, the subclause 6.1.3 of ISO 22000-2018 specifies that opportunities can lead to the adoption of new practices which could be modification of products or processes using new technology and other desirable and viable possibilities to address the food safety needs of the organization or its customers. Let's talk about the clause 6.2, objectives of the food safety management system and planning to achieve them. Subclause 6.2.1 states that the organization is required to establish objectives for the FSMS at relevant functions and levels. The clause states that the objectives of the FSMS must be consistent with the food safety policy and must be measurable, if practicable. According to this clause, organization is required to take applicable food safety requirements, including statutory, regulatory, and customer requirements, into account to meet the requirement of standard. This subclause 6.2.1 states that the objectives of the FSMS must be monitored, verified, communicated, and maintained and updated as appropriate. Lastly, the subclause 6.2.1 specifies that the organization is required to retain documented information on the objectives for the FSMS. Now coming to subclause 6.2.2. This subclause 6.2.2 says that when planning how to achieve its objectives for the FSMS, the organization must determine what will be done, what resources will be required, who will be responsible, when will it be completed, and how the results will be evaluated. Let us discuss the clause 6.3, planning of changes. The clause 6.3, planning of changes of ISO 22000-2018 specifies that when the organization determines the need for changes to the FSMS, including personal changes, the changes must be carried out and communicated in a planned manner. Clause states that the organization must consider the purpose of the changes and their potential consequences and the continued integrity of the food safety management system. According to the clause 6.3, an organization is required to consider the availability of resources to effectively implement the changes and the allocation or reallocation of responsibilities and authorities to meet the requirements of the standard. Friends, we have covered the clause 6 of ISO 22000-2018. For more information about our institute and other training programs, you can contact us through email or phone. I sincerely thank you all for your interest and attention.